Greetings, all. My name is Imani Evans Baskin. I'm a master life coach with a specialty in trauma and resiliency recovery. So, today I'm going to be talking to you very briefly about trauma, what it is, and what does unhealthy trauma response look like, and what it would healthy trauma response look like. I'm also going to finish off with talking about just quickly how you support someone who has experienced trauma. So, trauma is any distressing or life threatening event that causes physical, emotional, distress or pain. And that pain, you can expect a range of emotional responses to trauma, right? So we have anxiety, anger, sadness. Sometimes people feel guilt, right? They feel survivor's guilt, or maybe a loved one passed and they didn't get a chance to say what they wanted to say or show up. And so guilt can be a tremendous response to a traumatic event. Sometimes the distress shows up physically. So we have people experiencing pain, unexplained pain, or back pain, or just a achiness or a malaise that you can't really quite put your finger on what it is. Sometimes it shows up in poor sleeping, unable to sleep, unable to sort of rest their body and mind. Sometimes people turn to drugs and alcohol as a way of escaping, avoiding, checking out from the pain. And so these can be some very distressing ways. We experience people who are dealing with self esteem issues after experiencing trauma. Look, no one expects a traumatic event. I mean, that's part of what it is. So it comes out of the blue. You're living your life, and boom, all of a sudden, this experience happens and it changes you. And sometimes it takes you to what I call zero recognition of self, where all of the ways in which you've defined your life are gone. All of the things you sort of understood about yourself, or at least the really important ones, seem shattered. I mean, and that can be very traumatic. Some people will experience the same event and respond to it in very different ways, and all of it is okay. And that's the number one thing I want you to know, that the way you experience trauma is your experience. So, what are some of the healthy ways to deal with trauma? And later, I'm going to do a video on just resiliency, what it means, how do we look at resiliency, what are the different approaches, and we're going to be talking about inherited resiliency, natural resiliency, and learned resiliency. But for now, I just want to talk about some of the healthy ways to respond to a traumatic event. Listen, the thing is that, no one can tell you what your trauma experience is. It is yours. And so, one of the healthy ways to sort of begin dealing with it is talking about it. And this might seem simple, but some people don't want to talk about it. They think if they create a space for a person to talk about their trauma, it's like making them relive it. No, if you're experiencing trauma, you are already living it. And so talking about it actually frees you from it. It allows you to release it and get it out. And sometimes people have a hard time talking about things if they can't actually fix it, right? You can't fix the thing. Well, talking about it and releasing it is not about fixing it. It's about just creating space for your truth to breathe, for your truth to be witnessed and honored by others or another, right? So, talking about it to a trusted person. Another healthy way to respond to trauma is making sure you get enough sleep. That sounds really basic, but sleep is so important to our body's recovery, whether we're talking about emotional or physical recovery. Sleep is how we replenish, is how we refresh, is how our cells regenerate and allow us to be able to face the next day with the energy that we need. So, sleep is very important. Another healthy way to respond to trauma might be journaling, remembering to journal and write out those thoughts that you maybe don't want to say to someone else, but also need to come out. actually suppressing all of those feelings. That's the thing that makes us feel trapped and stuck. And you know that old saying, secrets keep us sick. It's very true. And so being able to, get it out in one way or the other is very important. And just having a general self-care plan. So I'm not talking about, just getting your nails done. No, I'm talking about a self-care plan that takes into account your mind, body, spirit in a very consistent way. What do you need to thrive? Not just survive, but what do you need to survive? To thrive. And that's really important. So, making sure that your self care plan is clear and it covers that mind, body, soul sort of experience. If you're a loved one and you're supporting someone who is going through a traumatic experience, the one thing I want to say here, and then I'll end the video here, is it's important to just be present. You might respond a different way than they might be responding, but it's okay. And, allowing people to have their experience and their truth and not over identifying. At the end of the day, sometimes words aren't even necessary. Just be present. Just hold a hand, just give a hug, just listen. And I know it can be difficult to watch someone you love going through a traumatic experience, feeling immense pain, and you can't help. And I know that sense of helpless, but we have to remember in that moment that supporting is not about us, it's about what the other person needs. And so I say sometimes it's just about being a compassionate witness, to just be there and say, I know, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm here. I'm here. And that goes a long, long way. You'd be quite surprised how much that can refresh and rejuvenate and support a person going through trauma. So that's all I have for you today. My name is Imani Evans Baskin. I wish you peace. I wish you love.